our next speaker is a graduate of Texas State University. She earned her bachelor's degree in finance. She's a financial advisor and insurance agent with over 20 years of experience in financial advising and operations. She's consistently delivered revenue growth and maintained high standards of service. She is the Chief Operating Officer of National Financial Alliance. Please welcome Kristen Wagner.
This is so amazing, y'all. I just have to say, I'm in the financial services industry, and I go to conferences all the time, and they're always full of men, right? And to be in a room with all of you amazing ladies is just a dream of mine. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Gloria, for introducing me. And thank you, Dan and his team, for putting on such a wonderful conference. I'm so happy to be here. And like Gloria said, my name is Kristen Wagner. I am the Chief Operating Officer and Partner of National Financial Alliance, or NFA. At NFA, we are dedicated to serving families like yours, supporting advisors, and building lasting legacies through faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. But more than my title, I am a woman who's deeply passionate about protecting families, empowering others through financial clarity, and helping women understand that they absolutely belong in this business and in positions of leadership like you all are in today. Today, I want to share not just what I do, but why I do it. Because my story, my purpose, and my journey are at the heart of everything I believe about leadership, service, and elevation. So thank you so much, Alpha Omega, for this focus. It is a masterpiece. You are all masterpieces in here. It's been said several times from many of the ladies that have been up here, and I 100% believe that about each of you in here. So my passion for financial services didn't start with numbers. It started with my grandmother, whom I call Nanny. This is my nanny and her wonderful husband. They were so in love in this picture, you can just feel it, right? This is many, many years ago. The quality of pictures are not as good as they are today, but you can still feel the love. So when Bill, my grandfather, was just 39 years old, my nanny lost her husband, her love of her life. After a 2-year battle with aggressive colon cancer, he passed away. He was a credit manager at Neiman Marcus. He handled all of their finances, y'all. Everything. Paying the bills. Everything. My grandmother had always been a stay-at-home mom. That was her passion. Raising 4 children, the littlest only being 2 years old when his father passed away, my grandfather. She had never managed money. She had trusted him completely with her life, her finances, her children, trusted him to be there. And when he passed, she was left grieving, overwhelmed, and financially vulnerable. She received life insurance proceeds, trusts for all the 4 children, several investment accounts that he had started. He had done everything right, y'all. He had done everything right. He had set it all up. He had 2 years if he was battling with this cancer. He had prepared in every way. However, when she inherited all of this, it was very overwhelming. She was emotional. She didn't know what to do. She threw her hands up. She said, "Please, Lord," because she was super, super believer in God, and that's who actually introduced me to the Lord. She was connected with a financial advisor. So unfortunately, that relationship did not serve her well. Poor decisions were made with her money, and in her very emotional, vulnerable state, she was taken advantage of. And on top of that, my nanny, she was an incredibly gracious and generous person. I remember, y'all, I'm going to sidetrack for a second from the actual presentation, but she is one of the only ones that would tell me I was beautiful during my like awkward junior high phase of braces and like, pimples and all the things that we go through in junior high. She would say, "You are beautiful, Kristen. You are beautiful." And I just remembered those words, right? And we've been talking about this for the last 2 days of like, look in the mirror to say, "I love you, Kristen," and like feel that. And it really makes a difference in your self-awareness and confidence. And she was that kind of person. So she just told everybody they were beautiful all the time. She sang wherever she went, mostly church songs and about her love of God. And so then she was incredibly generous and the kind of woman who would never say no, right? She would give before she would ever say no. So she gave lots of that inheritance to churches, other charities. Anytime anybody needed help, she gave. Because she felt like, I have it, why not give it? She was not given the right advice. And open-heartedly, in her giving state, she depleted that inheritance over time. Now, it didn't happen in the first year or the second year. But like I said, my uncle was 2 years old when his dad passed away. So she still had a lifetime to use this inheritance to support these 4 children and herself as she grew older, right? So eventually, her lifestyle caught up with her. She had very little for retirement and healthcare expenses in her distribution phase of life. So when I was in junior high, my awkward phase, she came to live with us. And she had been, bounced around from, my aunt to my uncle, back to my aunt, and things like that. And my parents were both teachers. We were living paycheck to paycheck at the time. There's 3 of us. I have a sister and a brother as well. So my parents really didn't have the house to do this, but you know what? They welcomed her in, and she came and stayed in my then bedroom. I moved in with my sister. That's a whole nother story. But she went on to, so when she lived with me, I had all these conversations with her, like deep conversations about God and about her life. And another thing she taught me is like never depend on a man because he'll leave you, which is just the mindset she had because she'd been left, not because they chose to, but, God chose to take them early. So she always said, be financially stable and be independent and don't depend on that man. And that was ingrained in me since I was little, right? So she went on to eventually need full-time care above and beyond our household, which also continued to deplete what she had in savings. And we were forced, unfortunately, to put her in a nursing home until she passed away at age 84, very peacefully in her sleep. And so that was that. So how a system can fail, that's what I want to talk about, is like someone not being a part of that financial planning process and that the budgeting, the paying the bills, the making sure you cash flow things, right? The procedure of doing that, procedure of keeping a house and paying a mortgage and getting the right interest rate. Structured plans that were not enforced, and the lack of trust with your financial advisor, which is so important. So I remember hearing my nanny tell so many stories during the time that she lived with us, not with bitterness or anger, because she was the happiest, most positive woman. After going through all of this, she still stayed positive and kept her faith in Jesus and God. She was amazing. So she told me these stories with just brutal honesty, and something shifted in me. I was like, how can I prevent this from happening to somebody else? And I realized how quickly life can change, how unprepared someone can feel when they've never been invited into the financial conversation. How dangerous it is when the wrong person is guiding your future. I didn't just feel sympathy and empathy for her and my uncle and aunts and mother. I felt responsibility. People should never feel financially alone, especially in their most vulnerable season of losing a loved one. That's when us as financial advisors need to stand beside them and guide them in the right direction. So I knew I wanted to be the kind of advisor who protects people. So especially women and families who may not have been the primary financial decision maker, which nowadays there's a lot more women that are, but at the time that my nanny was growing up, that was unheard of. The men were usually financial decision makers of the family, right? I think a woman couldn't even get a mortgage on their own. They had to have a cosigner up until my nanny was older. I don't even know what year it was, but it was such a big thing when women were able to go buy a house without a man to cosign. So that's just crazy to me. But I wanted to be the person who explains things very clearly, empowers clients to understand their money, who honors both their security and their generosity. Finance always came naturally to me. I may have gotten it from my grandfather because he was credit manager at Neiman Marcus, a very smart man. More than that, though, I've always been analytical, strategic, forward-thinking, but more than that, I felt called to use those strengths to serve others and to make sure what happened to my nanny would not quietly happen again to someone else's mother, spouse, or child. And today, every time I sit across from a client, whether we're building wealth, planning for retirement, structuring insurance for protection, or preparing for the unexpected, I remember my nanny. My career isn't about markets or products. It's about protection. It's about empowerment. It's about making sure no one feels financially alone during the hardest seasons of life. That's my why. This is me and my nanny, taken right outside of her nursing home shortly before she passed away. And I want to tell y'all why I'm here today. Not just why I'm in this industry, not why I lead, but why is this work so personal to me? I didn't just see a financial mistake or several financial mistakes in my nanny's life. I saw what happens when someone isn't brought into the financial conversation, when protection isn't prioritized, and when generosity isn't paired with strategy. When someone is left alone in their most vulnerable season, and that story shaped me to who I am today. Like I said, NFA, we're powered by the 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. The story shaped how I think about faith because stewardship matters. It shaped how I think about family because one decision can impact generations. It shaped how I think about finance because strategy without integrity is very dangerous. Shaped how I think about fitness because discipline applies in every area of life, including money. And it shaped how I think about fun because financial security is what allows families to actually enjoy their life without fear. Fear of running out of money, right? That's the fear. 5 F's are not branding to me. They are very personal. So, I want to thank Regina, because we didn't plan this. She set me up for this because she said this word throughout her presentation 15 times, I promise, I counted. So this year, my word is elevate. So elevate your standard, elevate your conversations, elevate your protection, elevate the way you serve, elevate the way you lead, because that's what I know. When we elevate our integrity, families rise. When we elevate our discipline, wealth compounds. And when we elevate our leadership, generations are changed. My nanny's story could have ended very differently. And because of that, thousands of other stories will. And that's why I do what I do. Now, it's not just about why I started in this business. It's about what it took to stay and stick it through and become a successful financial advisor and partner and COO of a firm that manages over $3 billion in assets. I entered this business at 21 years old, y'all. 21, right out of college. Young woman walking into a male-dominated industry, trying to convince people twice my age to trust me with their life savings. And to say the least, that was hard to do. There were rooms where I wasn't taken seriously, meetings where I was underestimated, walking into rooms full of men who had decades of experience. There were introductions and conferences where they assumed I was the assistant, the help, the servings. You know, like there were months where I wondered, like, what am I doing? How am I going to make it in this industry? The first few years were definitely not glamorous, to say the least. They were humbling, they were stretching, they were character building. Moments where quitting would have been way easier to do. Oh, I went the wrong way, sorry. But every time I thought about walking away, I saw my nanny's face. I saw my future children's faces. This is Dylan. He's 13. Savannah's 7. Chloe's 4. I'm a very proud mom. As y'all who know me in the room know that because I talk about my kids a lot. But I was thinking about this family that I was building, my husband, and the children that I hoped and prayed to have one day. And I knew I had to see this through. And I carried a deep desire to one day give my future family and future children a life filled with security, opportunity, and love. So this is my husband, Brian, our children, Dylan, Savannah, and Chloe. Their belief in me is my oxygen. When I'm exhausted, they remind me who I am. When I doubt myself, they believe in me. When I feel lonely, they stand beside me. At the time that I started this, I wasn't building a career. That wasn't my thought. It wasn't building protection. I wasn't building confidence for women who didn't even know they needed it yet. My passion for serving others carried me when my confidence couldn't. And service is what kept me in the chair studying for those licenses night after night while pregnant or just having a baby or all the things. Service is what kept me showing up when it would have been way easier to shrink. I think someone else talked about shrinking earlier. I feel that. So I want to also mention the power of support, y'all. And I'm not talking about support, family support, because that's so important, like I mentioned, but support of your mentors around you. I know that Dan's a mentor for lots and lots of people in this room. Paul as well. I encourage you to find that support. And if you don't have it, reach out. Reach out to Dan and his team, because we will get it for you. Be open to mentorship. I've been mentored by many, many people. Not only the people in this picture. So this is Reagan Wagner, which a lot of you in the room know Reagan. And Bob Wagner is his father. No relation to me. That's a long story. See me after if you want to know more. Same last name. So Bob Wagner is the founder of our firm back in 1981, the year I happened to be born. And Reagan Wagner is partner and CEO of National Financial Alliance. So this is why the 5 F's are personal to me. Faith, because I had to believe in something bigger during those first years, right? Family, because their support carried me during the hard times. Still does today. Finance, because women deserve confidence and clarity. They deserve to be part of that picture. Fitness, because discipline builds endurance to withstand those hard times. And fun, because the freedom we create for families is what allows life to actually be enjoyed. So to all you amazing, powerful women in this room, you might be in your first year. You might be just starting out in business. You might be rebuilding a business. You might be in a season where you're questioning whether you belong in this business that you're creating, right? You might be wondering how you exit the successful business that you have built. Or you might be wondering how to pass on this business to your children in the most tax-efficient way. But I want to remind you and tell you that you all belong exactly where you are. And that was your story, right? God created you for a purpose. There's all a reason you are all here today. God brought you here. You may not know why still, but you're going to find out. He's going to show you. So, I believe in all of you. And just remember that this business will test you. It will stretch you. It will expose your every insecurity that you have. But if your purpose is strong enough, you will outlast the doubt. Remember that. If you're a woman in this room who's ever doubted whether you belong, ever felt underestimated in life, ever thought about quitting, or knows you are called to more in 2026 and beyond, I want you to stand up. Look around you. Look around the room. You can hug, kiss, whatever you want to do. So you are not alone. This is what elevation looks like, y'all. This is amazing. We're all powerful women in this room, and we're all together today because God brought us here. So amazing. Thank y'all for standing. You can sit down now. Thank you, though. So elevation isn't about proving you belong in the room, right? That's something else that Regina mentioned. Don't have to prove that you belong in this room. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to look like everybody else. Like, be you. You be you. Denise, be you. Happy birthday, by the way. It's about rising so strong that no woman after you ever questions whether she does. And I'm thinking about all of you in the room, as well as your daughters, all the women. Don't question. And rise up so strong. Don't question whether you can do it, because you can do it. So for 2026, I want you to commit to 3 things. You can write this down if you want. Elevate your voice, so speak up in the rooms you once shrank in. Elevate your standards, refuse to lower them for comfort. Get uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is good. And elevate the women behind you, y'all, the women you're raising. Open that door wider than it was open for you. That's always been my one thing in life, is I want my kids to live a better life than I did. I didn't live a bad life, y'all. I have a great life story. My parents worked their butts off. Like, I have a great story, but I still want my children's story to be a little better than mine. And then I feel like I've succeeded. I don't know if all of you feel that way in this room, but that's just, as a mom, you just want to see your children blossom and grow and follow Jesus. So we're not just building businesses, we're building legacies. We're protecting families, and maybe one day A little girl will listen to your story and decide that she will never let another woman feel powerless. That's how generations are changed. I do want to share one thing that I added later that's not on the slide, but as Ephesians 2:10 reminds us, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. Long ago. So never forget, you are not overlooked, unfinished, or accidental in this world. You are God's masterpiece, created on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. So let's work together and let's elevate for 2026. Thank you.